Hey guys, I'm here with Kevin, the physio today, but we're gonna show you the best strength exercises that you can do at home.
So developing strength when you're running is super important because it helps develop power, support around the muscles and the joints to increase your running efficiency and also reduce the risk of injuries. Now these exercises are using body weight, and to make it harder, you could change the tempo of it, or if you've got some light little weights at home or using grocery bags, dumping your pantry in it, that could be some load. The first one I love because you hit 3 muscle groups in one go: quads and bum and calves. So to start off with, take a step back, sit down. The more chest over the knee, the more glute engagement. If it's too tall, you'll hit more quads, but we want more bum here. In this position, you should feel 1 and 2. Bring your heels off the ground and you should feel the calves. If you've got access to a weight or a bag and you want to challenge your stability, you hold it in one arm and pass side to side. 10 each way, or if we're holding, go for 5 seconds for 5 reps. So my second exercise is to target the calves and the hamstrings. It helps it lengthen out because as us runners, we tend to be quite tight in these 2 muscles. So it's called a donkey calf raise. If you got a textbook or whatnot, you can put it down on the ground to create an extra length. 1 leg or 2 leg. From this position, lean your body to parallel to the ground. Drop your heels, you should get that nice stretch behind here, and then up. For here, I like to do 2 sets of 10, making sure that the leg is nice and straight. The third exercise is to hit the groin and the opposite abs. It's called the Copenhagen. Now, you can make this quite challenging by having the leg nice and long first. Set up into a plank position. We want ankles, knees, hips, shoulders all in one line, so we don't want to click into a V shape. From here, if this is challenging enough, you can have the bottom leg on the ground. If it is easy, you bring the opposite leg up. Now, 5 seconds for 5 reps, but if this is more challenging for you, you could always just feather the amount of bottom leg pressure. Or you just go into a shorter lever, where you go from knees on, and then hold this. 10 seconds, 5 reps or less. So this is the 4th exercise, and it's the standard hip thrust, but elevated on a chair. That way we could work on opening the hips. Rather than every other exercise so far, it's been closed hips. So if you can have a stronger hip positioning to open up, you'll be able to get a better stride length and power. Grab your sofa, chair, set yourself up so you have your knees just slightly in front of your hips, so not directly over. If you're challenged with this, hands on the ground. If not, arms across your chest. Feet in line with knees and hips, and you want the straight line from knees, hips, and shoulders, so not tilted into a V shape here. I love to use it for 5-second holds for 5 reps. If you want to challenge yourself even more, you can hold it for longer, or go single leg, up, hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is the 5th exercise where we're targeting through the hip flexors. And they're quite important because they're your powerhouse to bring your legs through for drive in order to set you up for your push-off position. So if you've got a band, this will be perfect. And this is an intentional exercises on both legs. So either use a chair, a slight lean forward. In this position, we don't want your tummy down to the ground. Tuck it a little bit, because the standing leg, you're gonna push into the ground, quad squeeze and bum squeeze. The opposite leg, you're gonna bring your knee towards your chest. Hold this here for 5 seconds for 5 reps. Again, making sure that the ankle, knee, and hip all is in one line and not rotated side to side. And back down.
So those were 5 very good exercises, but I want to talk about non-negotiables because obviously the soleus takes a lot of load when you're running. Yeah, talk about the importance of strengthening the soleus and what you would do for it.
Yeah, so in terms of strengthening the soleus, it can absorb and produce as much as 7 times your body weight when you run, and it's quite important. Otherwise, if you have a lack of strength in the soleus, you increase the stresses that can go into your shin, which can potentially lead to like stress fractures to the tibia, shin splints, or even up the knee. So having a nice, strong soleus to absorb and produce the force is super important.
Cool. Well, yeah, let's get you to show us how we can target the soleus versus the gastroc. Yeah.
So the soleus is primarily active when the knees are bent. So when we do a standard calf raise, this will hit what we call the gastroc, which is that big outer muscle of the calf, versus the soleus, which runs more on the inner side of that shin. Slightly bent, so as if you're sitting on a high bar stool. And then from this position, you just bring your heels up and down from the ground. Commonly, I see people do this by leaning forward like Michael Jackson with the knees. And that doesn't do anything. So what you want to do is make sure the knee is over that shoelace position, heels off the ground, and then coming back down. Generally, these muscles love to be high reps, so I tend to punch out about 20 reps or so. If capable, then you transfer into a single leg.
Cool. Just so there's no confusion for the people watching, you would do it barefoot, right?
I will do it barefoot,
Yeah.
yeah. And just a couple of considerations, if I may add, is that if we go from a back view, what we don't want to happen is your force of lying dropping out to the side, which is makes the soleus pretty much inefficient. You want it to drive over the first and second toe so it's nice and straight.
So now we're going to show you how to make sure that you always toe off on your big toe when you're doing the calf raises.
Yeah, normally you could use a ball for this, but we're going to makeshift and roll up a towel. We're going to place this between your feet or your heels, so it has to grasp. Make sure your toes are pointing forward at 12 o'clock position, and then as you lift up, drive that foot over that second and big toe from here. How does that feel?
Yep, good.
Yeah, and then the other variation is that you could use a band and you place it underneath your big toe and your second toe and put a bit of tension onto it. So when you rise, you're forced to try and hold down that band, which will engage your big toe. And the big toe is super important to provide stiffness through your plantar fascia, what we call like the windlass mechanism, to provide that stiffness to propel you forward. So this is why we aim about getting into the first, second toe to push off, but it also helps engage the soleus and the supporting muscles along the ankles a lot more efficiently.
Cool. All right, so thanks for showing all that. But yeah, how can people tailor the difficulty by changing the parameters?
Yeah, so what you can do, so we've got like the framework of reps and sets and whatnot, time under tension, so how long you're holding it for. So if you're struggling and you're quite weak, you could just hold it for a lesser amount of time, but more reps. But if you're finding that it's pretty easy and you're getting stronger, you increase the time and potentially play around with the reps, whether you want to do more or less. The other thing too, for example, is that you could add some load. So if you don't have weights at home, you could load up like those shopping bags with some groceries and utilize that as load. In terms of how often we want to do this too, it depends on which phase you are in your training session or your running season. So if you're in season, probably 2 to 3 times a week. But if you're out of season and you want to build that foundational strength, you can hit it up to about 4 to 5 times a week.
And yeah, I've been doing a lot of strength stuff, like once a week with Kevin. So yeah, if you ever need to see someone, make sure to hit him up. Ask him some questions on Instagram because he's always down to have a chat. I think that's a good place to start. Yeah. Because he'll happily help you out on there.
Yeah, and I also read your comments. So if people want to put stuff in comments, I'll reply there too.
Sweet, there you go.